For the most part, teenagers are like everyone else, but some of them stand out from the crowd and become famous for atypical reasons. Here are 10 teenagers who got tons of attention for being bizarre and abnormal. If your teenager looks like they're going to approach 6 feet, you're probably pretty proud of them. Now imagine if your teen started straddling 8 feet. At that point, you'd call them media. When he was just 5 years old, Brock Brown of Michigan was diagnosed with Soto syndrome, also known as cerebral gigantism. This rare genetic disorder causes severe growth, to the point where at age 19, he stood 7 foot 8 inches tall. That's taller than pretty much any teenager who's ever lived, which is as cool a claim to fame as any other. What's less cool are the side effects of Soto syndrome. Due to growing so much so fast, Brock suffers from spinal issues, heart strain, back pain, and even some learning disabilities. As Brock described it, it kind of feels like a big tennis racket has gone through my back. While doctors don't believe his form of gigantism is life-threatening, they do say he's going to deal with pain and strain his entire life. He should do fine as long as he maintains a positive attitude and stays away from the painful reminders that are tennis rackets. Typical humans have 7 vertebrae in their neck. A Chinese teenager named Fu Wengwei has 10, giving him an extra long neck and an extra dose of daily pain. As his father explains it, the extra vertebrae press down on the nerves in his neck, which makes it hard for his son to walk or stand comfortably. In addition, Fu Wengwei also deals with congenital scoliosis and an abnormal chest frame. So not only is his neck causing him pain, but so is his spine and chest. Most likely, all three are related. In 2014, Fu began planning surgery to normalize his neck. There doesn't appear to be any news on what's happened to him, so we can only hope he got his wish and is now living as anonymous and as healthy a life as he possibly can. If this isn't a superhero origin story, we don't know what is. In 2012, an Indian teen named Deepak Jangra discovered an incredible X-Men-style mutant ability. He can absorb electricity like nobody's business. He discovered this while fixing his mother's heater. While working, he accidentally touched a live wire with his screwdriver and was shocked to find that, well, he wasn't shocked. Nothing happened. Over time, Jangra tested himself with increasingly high amounts of electricity, culminating in touching a high-tension wire containing 11,000 volts of electricity. He did so and felt no pain. For reasons still unknown, Deepak is immune to electricity. Since then, he's become a local celebrity. People want to see him perform amazing feats of electrical immunity when he's not fixing their electrical issues by hand. He works free of charge, not wanting to profit off of his amazing ability. He simply wants to help people. Obviously, do not try this at home. Any more than a few hundred volts could damage or even kill you. We don't know how Deepak Jangra does what he does, and it's best to assume only he can do it. Here's a story straight out of a horror movie. A young girl in England named Marnie Ray Harvey bleeds from her eyes, scalp, ears, and even tongue, seemingly at random. This isn't just red fluid we're calling blood for creative purposes either. It is actual blood, pouring from her every orifice. In some cases, she's been known to bleed from her eyes for nearly 2 weeks straight. At the same time, she's also mentioned that her eyes can bleed and it can cover my face with blood, and in seconds, it's just gone, completely white, back to normal. That simply makes her condition even more baffling. To date, no doctor has figured out what causes any of this. Harvey isn't the only person to bleed from her eyes. It's rare, but it has happened. However, she may be the only case of someone who also bleeds from everything else. Her life's goal is to finally find a specialist who can diagnose and cure her. She also hopes to find somebody else who shares her condition and can help her through this trauma. At age 15, a British teenager named Louisa Ball came down with flu-like symptoms. As one does when dealing with the flu, she laid down to take a nap. However, her nap lasted nearly 2 weeks. It wasn't depression, but rather Ball's body shutting down and putting her to sleep for abnormally long periods of time. Since then, Louisa has dealt with many sleep episodes where she simply cannot wake for days or even weeks at a time. Her parents wake her to use the bathroom and eat, but afterward, her body would simply go back to sleep. Since the human body is not evolved to handle hibernation like a bear, she loses a lot of weight during her sleep episodes. What's more, her life has been put on hold. She's missed tons of school, fallen behind on her dance lessons, and missed out on multiple parties and vacations simply because she was snoozing. For years, doctors could not give her an explanation. Finally, a specialist diagnosed her with Klein-Levin syndrome, a disease that damages the hypothalamus and makes it hard for the brain to regulate eating and sleeping habits. While our brains know when to sleep and when not to, hers has no clue and chooses to just sleep forever. Louisa Ball still deals with her disorder, though far less frequently. She sometimes goes months between sleep episodes, though she's still not cured. At this point, her life's goal is simply to lie down for a cat nap without waking up 2 weeks later. From the neck up, Julia Vinz comes across as a strikingly beautiful girl with gigantic green eyes. But if you see her whole body, you realize she is actually a strikingly beautiful girl with gigantic green eyes and gigantic muscles from neck to toe. In 2011, Vinz had a normal body for a girl her age, but she wasn't satisfied, feeling there was something more out there for her. She discovered weightlifting at age 15 and took to it immediately. She worked and improved to the point where she entered the World Powerlifting Championships and set 3 records. Despite working hard to build the body that would make The Rock jealous, Vinz never abandoned her supermodel looks. She purposefully works out in full makeup with her hair done up, as feeling sexy and beautiful helps her confidence just as much as lifting giant weights. As such, she has the face of a Barbie doll with the body of the Incredible Hulk. That combination has garnered her nearly 1 million Instagram followers, a profitable career as a training coach, and even some acting gigs in her native Russia. If you ever watch a movie called Goalkeeper of the Galaxy, look for her. She plays a strikingly beautiful Amazonian woman who could crush you with her bare hands. It's the part she was born to play. Sierra Swearingen was born with roughly 2/3 of her body covered in spots, including one gigantic one that reached from her navel to her inner thigh. For a long time, she had no idea what caused this, though it didn't really matter. What concerned her more was her classmates making fun of her, saying she looked dirty or like a spotted dog, among other insults we can't mention because children might be watching. Even so, she finally got a proper diagnosis. She has giant congenital melanocytic nevis, a disease so rare that it only affects 1 out of every 500,000 people. Those are slightly better odds than winning a small lottery. Now that she's older, Swearingen isn't letting stupid comments from small-minded people impede her life. She's proud to be different and has embraced every single birthmark on her body. At the same time, she's fully aware that her condition is not just a visual quirk. She has an increased risk of developing lesions or moles in her brain, as well as skin cancers such as malignant melanoma. So as she puts it, sunscreen is like my best friend. It certainly makes for a better best friend than whatever loser called her a dirty dog. Obviously, you need bones to live. So imagine being Natalia Villegas, who lives her life knowing the very bones in her body are literally vanishing. At age 2, Villegas was diagnosed with a disease called idiopathic multicentric osteolysis. It is among the rarest disorders on the planet. Only 100 known people suffer from it. When a body has IMO, it actually absorbs the calcium right from its own bones. Without calcium, bones become brittle, and in Natalia's case, completely vanish over time. This has resulted in Natalia, now almost 15 years old, being confined to a wheelchair and suffering constant pain almost every minute of every day. Her parents work hard to ensure that she has as normal and independent a life as she possibly can, though she likely will never be completely independent. There is currently no cure for her disease, and even if one comes around, she's not likely to grow her bones back. All she can hope for is to stop losing more of them. If you were a teenage girl being compared to Batman villain Harlequin, you would likely see that as a compliment. If so, then you are not Hunter Steinitz, who suffers from a disease called Harlequin ichthyosis, and it causes her more agony than anyone should ever have to bear. HI is a rare skin condition where the skin grows extra thick and does not retain moisture. As a result, Hunter has thick, incredibly red skin that is covered in dry patches. Because her body cannot process or retain moisture, she cannot sweat. This means she's constantly in danger of dehydrating. She also has to wear a wig because her skin is so thick that it covers the follicles on top of her head. She can't even move her fingers or toes that much because her skin is too thick and her joints have no flexibility. Perhaps worst of all, because her body has no moisture, she can't even close her eyes. Do you enjoy sleeping, napping, blinking? Count your blessings, because this girl can do none of those things. Since there is currently no cure, all Hunter can do is spend several hours every morning bathing and rubbing lotions and other moisturizers into her body. If she can't produce her own moisture, then she'll get it through any means necessary. At age 12, Zahra Hartshorn's face started aging rapidly. Rather than looking like a typical tween, she suddenly resembled a tiny, wrinkled 70-year-old. She was diagnosed with cutis laxa, an incredibly rare condition that damages the body's connective tissue and provides very little strength to one's muscles, joints, and skin. For a self-conscious teen like Zahra, this was devastating news. What kid wants to look like their own grandmother? Being surrounded with children who didn't understand her condition and were only interested in mocking her certainly did not help. Zahra and her mother, who also has the disease, flew from their home in England to Texas for special facelifts that would finally make them look their age. Unfortunately, Zahra did not do the follow-up work necessary after such a surgery. Within a few years, her face started to sag again. While she doesn't look 70, she could probably be mistaken for a 40-year-old. What's worse, however, is the revelation Zahra recently got. Cutis laxa isn't just a wrinkle-causing disease. Instead, it can devastate internal organs, and Zahra's heart could fail at any time. As it stands, tests have shown her heart is fine, but knowing it might not be one day has caused Zahra to consider her disease beyond mere vanity. She's attempting to live a normal life and wants to inspire others with rare conditions to do the same.